In the vast expanse of the universe, the galactic Concordium stood as an unshakable beacon of absolute knowledge. A coalition of advanced alien civilizations, they enforced the fundamental laws of physics across the cosmos with an iron grip, their understanding of reality fixed, immutable. The universe obeyed their doctrines without question. To them, the very fabric of existence was a set of rules, unchanging, eternal. Those who dared challenge this sacred order, no matter their technological prowess, were swiftly corrected. There was no room for deviation in their perfect universe. Yet, in this orderly cosmos, a small, insignificant planet in the farthest corner of the galaxy had the audacity to defy them. Earth, a planet once deemed primitive and irrelevant, now thrust into the galactic spotlight by its reckless, unpredictable inhabitants. The humans did not obey the universal laws like the other species. They did not blindly accept what the Concordium had deemed truth. Instead, they questioned it, explored it, and, in their arrogance or brilliance, began to bend those very laws. Dr. Evelyn Carter was the architect of this audacious challenge. At the edge of known space, on a rogue research station named Einstein's Folly, she led a small team of scientists and military advisors, free from the Concordium's watchful eyes. They weren't driven by conquest or power, but by the pure curiosity to unlock the deepest mysteries of the universe. The laws of physics were no longer boundaries, but doors waiting to be opened, and Carter had every intention of walking through them. She was a woman of vision, not bound by the conventional limits of science. Her mind danced with concepts others deemed impossible, manipulating gravitational fields, bending light, even altering time. And yet, for all her genius, Carter was not naive. The risks of her work were as great as the potential rewards. She knew the moment the Concordium discovered her breakthroughs, they would come, and they would come with force. Commanding the station's military arm was Commander Alex Reyes, a man whose trust in the Concordium's benevolence had long since evaporated. He knew the alien coalition's true purpose: to maintain control, to suppress any species that could challenge their authority. Earth's survival depended on their secrecy, their ability to push forward with the research while staying one step ahead of the Concordium. Reyes understood the stakes better than anyone. Humanity's future hung in the balance, and he would do whatever it took to protect it. But it wasn't just the military that kept an eye on Earth. Ambassador Veltan, a diplomat from the Concordium, was sent to observe. On paper, he was to ensure humanity's compliance with the universal laws of science. In truth, his mission was much more dire. If humanity was indeed breaking the very fabric of the universe, he had been ordered to stamp it out, quietly, efficiently. His personal views were complicated. On one hand, he was fascinated by the audacity of human ingenuity. On the other, he found it deeply unsettling. How could such a primitive species, so young, so volatile, have discovered a flaw in the perfect order of the universe? When the Concordium detected anomalies in the fabric of reality itself, they could no longer ignore Earth's reckless experiments. Disturbances rippled through space, gravitational distortions where none should exist, quantum fluctuations that defied all logic. At first, they dismissed the readings as human error, the mistakes of a species still struggling to comprehend the basic laws of physics. But the deviations continued, growing more pronounced with each passing day, until they became undeniable. Veltan's orders were clear: travel to Earth, investigate these irregularities, and, if necessary, dismantle the rogue research. With a mix of intellectual curiosity and military precision, Veltan descended upon Einstein's Folly. The station, isolated and hidden deep within a nebula, was a haven for the scientists who sought to rewrite the rules. But to the Concordium, it was a threat that needed to be neutralized before it could spiral out of control. Reyes knew what was coming. He had been preparing for this moment ever since Project Prometheus had been initiated. But no amount of preparation could shield humanity from the confrontation that was about to unfold. When Veltan arrived, his presence cast a shadow over the entire station. His cold, calculating gaze took in the human achievements with a mixture of disdain and disbelief. He saw their innovations, their impossible experiments, but he could not accept them. The Concordium's science was absolute. What they had discovered could only be mistaken. Then came the moment of revelation. Carter and Reyes stood side by side as they unveiled their findings to Veltan. What they had accomplished was beyond any human achievement, beyond even the Concordium's most advanced technology. They demonstrated with irrefutable proof that the laws of physics, the very constants the Concordium held sacred, were not immutable. They were pliable, bendable, and could be rewritten at will. Inertia could be negated. Quantum tunneling could be manipulated. It was a scientific revolution, a door into a new era. But to Veltan, it was heresy. The ambassador's expression hardened, his skepticism giving way to something darker. The Concordium's laws could not be wrong. If humanity had truly discovered a way to manipulate the fundamental constants of the universe, then their entire understanding of reality was a lie. The consequences of such a discovery were unthinkable. What other truths might collapse under scrutiny? What if this breach threatened not just humanity, but the very fabric of existence itself? But Carter and Reyes refused to back down. They could not. They had crossed a threshold that no one, not even the Concordium, could ignore. They had proven that humanity's potential was limitless, if only the galaxy would allow it. And the implications of this breakthrough were not just scientific, they were philosophical. If the laws of physics were not absolute, if reality could be shaped by human hands, then what did that mean for their place in the cosmos? Let me give you a summary. Were they the masters of the universe, or mere children playing with fire? The confrontation with Veltan was only the beginning. As the ambassador prepared to leave, his mind already plotting how to deal with this fluke of human arrogance, the seeds of something far more dangerous had been sown, and the universe, for the first time in millennia, had been shaken. The stars had never seemed so small. As the Concordium delegation entered Earth's orbit, their ships moved with an unsettling grace, their silhouettes slicing through the fabric of space like sharpened blades. On board the flagship, Veltan observed with cold satisfaction as his fleet surrounded Einstein's Folly, the rogue research station. From here, they would deliver their message. Humanity's time of reckoning had come. The laws of physics were sacred. The universe had its rules, and Earth, a primitive and chaotic planet, would be made to understand that. The Concordium's technology, superior, controlled, elegant, was the very definition of mastery. And today they would demonstrate it. Veltan stood tall, his gaze unwavering as he prepared for the performance. This would be their grand unveiling, the truth, the undeniable proof that the Concordium had perfected science in ways humanity could only dream of. The stars, the planets, the very force of gravity, all of it would bend to their will. The delegation began with a flourish. Gravity itself seemed to obey their commands as the demonstration unfolded. With a wave of their hands, massive objects shifted in the air, hovering weightlessly, rotating in perfect synchronization. Energy flowed freely, shifting from one state to another, particles dancing at their command. For the humans who watched, it was nothing short of a cosmic spectacle, a display of what true science could accomplish. Veltan felt a brief surge of pride. This was not arrogance. This was absolute truth, the bedrock on which the Concordium stood. He turned toward Dr. Evelyn Carter and her team, expecting them to be awestruck, to realize the futility of their quest. Humanity could never match such mastery. They would bow before the Concordium's unquestionable knowledge. It was inevitable. But then, Carter's expression shifted. Instead of the submission Veltan anticipated, she met his gaze with something far more dangerous: defiance. As the Concordium delegation finished their demonstration, Carter signaled her team to begin their own presentation. The room fell silent as human technology took center stage. Carter's machine hummed, its inner mechanisms spinning and twisting in ways that defied natural law. A simple object, a metal sphere, hovered in mid-air. The device's output, however, was not a gentle manipulation of gravitational fields. It was something else entirely. Without the precision of Concordium technology, without the sophisticated infrastructure, Carter's team bent mass and inertia. The object moved through space with zero resistance, phasing in and out of existence, slipping between moments without passing through the intervening distance. It was the impossible, made real. The room filled with stunned silence. The Concordium delegation's members exchanged uncertain glances. This was not supposed to happen. They had shown humanity the true nature of physics, had demonstrated the unchallengeable supremacy of their understanding, and yet, here they were, witnessing a human achievement that violated their deepest beliefs. Once the delegation had returned to the caravan's afterlife, Velthar's mind raced. He had spent his life studying these laws, these constants. They were the foundation of everything, the very essence of existence. How could this be possible? The concept that humans had somehow, without their advanced understanding, unraveled the fabric of reality itself, shattered his comprehension. He tried to rationalize what he had seen, but the truth was undeniable. The laws of physics, the ones the Concordium held sacred, could no longer be trusted. The universe, which had once seemed so predictable, was now mutable. This was the first crack in the Concordium's perfect understanding of the cosmos. And that crack, Veltan realized with mounting horror, was widening. A heated exchange erupted in the room, the silence replaced by a furious debate. Carter, her eyes burning with conviction, argued that physics wasn't some immutable truth. It was a set of rules that humanity had simply outgrown. What the Concordium called absolute was just an understanding, limited by their own narrow vision. Humanity, she claimed, had found the gaps, the flaws in their understanding. This was not destruction, it was evolution. Veltan, unable to comprehend the enormity of what he was hearing, called it reckless tampering. "You are playing with forces you do not understand," he warned. "This will have consequences. The universe cannot be bent without breaking." The tension in the room thickened as both sides dug in their heels. Was humanity's brilliance a sign of potential or a harbinger of disaster? The debate continued, but Velthan had already made up his mind. The Concordium could not allow this. They had allowed deviations before, but this was something far beyond what they had encountered in all their millennia. It was not just a challenge to their authority. It was a threat to the very fabric of reality itself. He rose, his tone icy. "Cease these experiments immediately, or we will intervene. You have no idea what you're playing with, and the consequences of your actions could be far worse than you can imagine." Reyes, standing to the side, scoffed. "You've threatened Earth before, Veltan, but we're not backing down. Not this time." His words were defiant, sharp. Humanity would not bend to the will of any alien power. Not now, not ever. But this time Veltar wasn't bluffing. His voice was steady, unwavering. "This is not a negotiation. Stop or be stopped." As the tension simmered, a new threat began to take shape. Behind the closed doors of the human command center, Rez gave the order, "We're weaponizing this. If we can rewrite reality, we can rewrite the rules of war." The implications were clear. If humanity could harness this power, they would never need to fear the Concordium or any other power again. But science, as Carter had discovered, could be as dangerous as it was brilliant. A secret experiment designed to test the limits of their newfound abilities spiraled out of control. A localized gravitational collapse occurred, tearing through Einstein's folly like a hurricane of force. time itself began to warp. Seconds stretched into hours as the station's systems struggled to comprehend what was happening. A test object phased out of existence, leaving behind only the faintest trace of its presence. Panic swept through the station. Had humanity gone too far? Had they broken the very fabric of existence? Veltan arrived at the scene, his calm demeanor shattered by the sight of the disaster. He had warned them, but now it was clear humanity had become something dangerous, something unpredictable. He turned to Carter, his voice low, desperate. "This is madness. You cannot control this. You are toying with the end of everything." Carter's face was pale, but she did not back down. "We are not done yet," she said, her voice steady. "The universe may bend, but humanity will shape it. We will not stop." The ambassador knew then that the Concordium had to act. He sent a message to the High Council. Earth had become a threat, one that could not be ignored. It was no longer a diplomatic issue, it was a crisis. The Concordium would have to intervene. Humanity had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. And with that, the countdown began, not just for Earth, but for the entire universe. The universe had always seemed so certain, unchanging, steady in its unyielding laws. But everything changed the moment humanity dared to look beyond the edges of the known, to pierce the veil of what was supposed to be immutable. Dr. Yvonne Carter, alongside her brilliant team, stood on the cusp of a discovery so profound that it could reshape existence itself. They had been chasing the impossible for years, pushing the boundaries of accepted science, and now the breakthrough had arrived. The fundamental variance hypothesis, a concept suggesting that the so-called constants of nature were not constants at all, but variables that could be altered locally. The speed of light, gravitational pull, the very nature of time itself. Nothing was fixed, everything could be bent. The implications were staggering. With the knowledge of this newfound flexibility, humanity could manipulate the very fabric of the universe. It was the key to unlocking technologies that could revolutionize everything from travel to weaponry. And yet, the truth weighed heavily on Carter's shoulders. The more she understood, the more she feared what this discovery could mean for her species and for the galaxy. Her mind raced as she stepped into the lab, watching her colleagues run final tests. They had taken her hypothesis and turned it into a working model. Today they would prove that humanity could rewrite the rules of reality. Carter's breath caught as she saw the results. A human ship, floating silently in space, not by conventional propulsion, but by bending space-time itself. The ship moved through the stars, defying inertia, its mass fluctuating in a way that should have been impossible. It was a miracle of science, a vision of what humanity could achieve. No engines, no thrusters, just the manipulation of the fundamental forces that govern the universe. The scientific community would tremble, and the galaxy would watch in awe and fear. The Concordium, those self-proclaimed masters of physics, would not be able to deny what they had witnessed. Humanity had just shown them something they could not even dream of. A new way of moving through the cosmos, beyond the grasp of the laws they had once thought unbreakable. But Carter wasn't done. Next came an even more terrifying experiment, creating energy from nothing. The conservation of energy, the sacred law that had governed all life, was shattered with a single demonstration. With nothing more than a few simple machines, Carter's team extracted energy from the void, bringing it into existence without violating any known physical law. The very foundation of the universe was crumbling beneath their feet. If energy could come from nowhere, what else was possible? The Concordium would not understand. They could not. Their entire existence had been built upon a rigid framework, an understanding of the universe that was now laughably inadequate. Carter had proven that humanity could do the impossible, not because they were smarter or more advanced, but because they dared to imagine a world where the rules weren't fixed, where they could adapt, evolve, and change the very nature of the cosmos itself. Carter's hands trembled as she watched the reactions around her. Velthan, the Concordium ambassador, stared at the data in stunned disbelief. His mind, trained to follow the rigid structure of the Concordium's scientific doctrines, could not process what he was seeing. He had always believed in the absolute supremacy of their knowledge, in the inviolable laws that govern the universe. But this was madness. How could humanity, this primitive species, have unlocked the door to such unfathomable power? But what unnerved him more than the discoveries themselves was the unsettling truth that humanity had done this without the aid of advanced alien technology. They had not followed the rules, they had bent them. And in doing so, they had challenged everything the Concordium had stood for. The more Velthan thought, the more he understood the danger. The Concordium could not allow such reckless disregard for universal laws. The laws of physics were their domain. Humanity's progress, no, their audacity, could not go unchecked. And so, he sent the order. Humanity had to stop. Immediately. But Carter, relentless as ever, refused to yield. For her, it was no longer about proving a point. It was about survival. Her team, her species, had unlocked something that could protect them, something that could make them the true masters of the cosmos. She would not let the Concordium dictate their future, not when the power to shape reality lay within their grasp. The Concordium's response was swift and unforgiving. They issued an ultimatum: cease all experiments or face the consequences. But humanity, in its infinite audacity, didn't flinch. Commander Reyes, who had been secretly overseeing the weaponization of their discoveries, smiled grimly as he heard the news. They had pushed the Concordium to the brink, but now it was time to prepare for the final confrontation. The next few days were a blur of action. Reyes worked tirelessly, overseeing the development of the next generation of human weaponry. Weapons that didn't rely on conventional matter, but on the very laws of reality. If the Concordium wanted to fight, humanity would make them fight on their terms. Propulsion was no longer a question of engines. Time and space could be twisted into weapons, into tools for war. But even Reyes knew that their greatest weapon wasn't going to be a missile or a laser, it would be the human mind. In every corner of their research station, Einstein's folly, people worked together. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, all of them contributing to the singular goal of surviving, of winning against an overwhelming alien force. And there was one key to it all: physics. With their new understanding of the universe, they could bend it to their will, whether in combat or in exploration. And yet, humanity's thirst for knowledge and power could not be tamed so easily. The line between genius and recklessness had blurred. While the Concordium planned their next move, something even more dangerous was unfolding at Einstein's folly. An alien saboteur had infiltrated the station, intent on destroying humanity's research. The saboteur, sent by the Concordium to halt their dangerous experiments, failed spectacularly. Instead of dismantling the technology, he triggered a chain reaction that opened up a rift in space-time. What had once been a simple experiment to test the limits of their findings became the unraveling of reality itself. A black hole-like anomaly formed in the station, sucking in matter and energy with terrifying efficiency. Time fractured. Gravity shifted unpredictably. The laws of physics, which Carter and her team had so confidently bent, were now attacking them in ways they could not anticipate. The room was plunged into chaos. People screamed as objects disappeared into the swirling anomaly. For a brief, terrible moment, it seemed as if everything was about to end. And Carter realized, with a sickening certainty, that they had opened Pandora's box. There was no going back. The universe would never be the same again. As the chaos unfolded, Velthan, who had been watching from afar, felt his heart race. He had warned them. He had pleaded for them to stop, but now it seemed that the universe itself was punishing humanity for its arrogance. The anomaly spread, distorting the very fabric of existence. The Concordium had to act. They would not let humanity's reckless ambition tear apart the universe they had so carefully controlled. And yet, as he prepared to send his final message to the Concordium fleet, an unexpected thought lingered. Could this catastrophe be the beginning of something greater? Had humanity, against all odds, found a way to transcend the limits of the known universe? As the Concordium fleet arrived, fully armed, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Would they bend the laws of reality once again, using their newfound powers to fight back, or would the universe, too, find a way to resist them? The ultimate test of humanity's spirit, and of the universe itself, was about to begin. The sky above Earth burned with the wrath of alien fire. The Concordium fleet descended like a storm, their ships hovering ominously above the planet, unleashing devastating energy blasts that decimated human defenses within moments. Cities crumbled, and the remnants of Earth's last defense forces were vaporized in an instant. Every attempt to retaliate seemed futile. Human weapons, designed for this very moment, barely scratched the alien ships. The universe's oldest civilization had brought their might to Earth's doorstep, and humanity was at the mercy of their overwhelming power. The last vestiges of resistance crumbled beneath the merciless assault. Yet, amid the devastation, there was one truth humanity could cling to: ingenuity. It had always been their greatest strength. In the shadow of annihilation, Commander Reyes and Dr. Carter stood at the helm of humanity's last, desperate gamble. A strategy born of necessity, of defiance. Their most dangerous and advanced experiments. The ultimate weapons that defied every known law of physics. Were the planet's final hope. First, the shielding systems activated. Not shields in the traditional sense, but fields that negated kinetic force entirely. Alien railgun projectiles shot from the enemy ships, traveling at nearly the speed of light, only to pass straight through human vessels as though they were not there at all. The aliens watched in disbelief as their most powerful weapons sailed through space, harmless against the strange energy field. Next, the time dilation fields kicked in. Human forces moved faster than the eye could perceive, dodging alien fire with impossible precision, slipping between reality's cracks. Each movement felt like hyperspeed, dodging, striking, disappearing. An incomprehensible blur to the Concordium ships, which were used to the steady, unchanging rules of the universe. Now they were faced with a battlefield where time itself was a weapon. Humans were no longer constrained by it. Then came the quantum warping missiles, a technology that allowed humanity to break free from the limitations of space itself. The missiles phased through the fabric of space-time, appearing at their target and detonating before the alien ships could react. With each explosion, the Concordium forces were stunned by the sheer audacity of the humans. A war of perception, not firepower, had begun. The Concordium could not adapt fast enough, and their overwhelming superiority was now meaningless in the face of humanity's creativity. Their confusion turned to panic. The alien fleet, once an unstoppable juggernaut, was now thrown into chaos. Their ships were caught in time loops, trapped in impossible realities. Crew members stumbled, disoriented, as strange shifts in space and time rendered their once reliable tactics useless. The Concordium, proud, ancient and unfaltering, found themselves utterly outmatched, thrown into a battlefield where their understanding of the universe was utterly irrelevant. But for all the ingenuity humanity displayed, it was clear that the Concordium would not bow to the whims of an inferior species. In their desperation to reassert their dominance, the aliens activated their fail-safe, a doomsday device capable of resetting the very fabric of reality. The device, a last resort to protect their cosmic authority. would erase all of humanity's scientific progress, obliterating their understanding of physics, undoing their advancements, and potentially unraveling Earth itself. The universe would return to its original state, a cold, unyielding place where no one could challenge the Concordium's supremacy. Humanity's victory was a fleeting hope, a final weapon, and the galaxy's greatest existential threat was upon them. Earth's fate and the future of everything they had discovered now hung on the slimmest of threads. But the thread was not as thin as the Concordium thought. Veltan, the Concordium ambassador, had been watching in silence from the shadows. He had seen humanity's brilliance, and it had shaken him. He had seen the ingenuity, the passion, the unwillingness to accept the universe's cruel rules. He had always known his people as rulers of knowledge, the true masters of the universe's laws. But the humans had shown him something different, that the universe, the one they had so carefully structured, could be bent, rewritten. Veltan was torn. Duty and loyalty called to him, but his awe of human innovation, the same innovation that had rattled the Concordium to its core, had shifted something in him. He had witnessed their struggle, their rise from the ashes, and he had come to a harsh realization. Humanity was not the enemy. The real enemy was the fear that held the Concordium in place, a fear of what might happen if the universe was not so rigidly controlled. With a sharp breath, Veltan made his choice. He defected. He revealed the key to disabling the Doomsday device, humanity's understanding of physics. Carter's team had bent the laws of the universe in ways no one, not even the Concordium, had ever imagined, and it was their only hope. Veltan, torn between his duty and his newfound respect for humanity, worked with Carter and her team to hack into the fail-safe, altering the very fabric of reality to counter the alien threat. The human forces held their position as the device came online, but time was running out and Reyes knew it. With a calm resolve, he led a suicidal charge directly into the heart of the alien fleet, knowing that his mission was not to survive, but to buy time. He would distract the Concordium long enough for Carter's team to disable the device. His soldiers followed, fighting with a ferocity fueled by desperation, using their own understanding of reality to turn the tide. Each strike defied expectations. Each movement was a calculated risk, one that tilted the balance of power back in humanity's favor. The clock was ticking, time was splintering, reality itself was being rewritten, and humanity's greatest weapon, the human mind, was in full force. While Reyes led his charge, Carter and her team moved to the final phase. They began hacking the very fabric of space-time, creating chaotic distortions that rendered the Concordium fleet blind to their own perception. The universe became a swirl of impossible paradoxes. Time stretched, contracted, and warped as the human team bent the laws of reality to their will. The aliens were no longer fighting a war. They were fighting perception, unable to tell which way was up or down, what was real or imagined. But in a shocking twist, humanity's manipulation of reality didn't just break the Concordium fleet, it infected their minds, pulling them into the human experience. The Concordium commanders, once cold and logical, now found themselves overwhelmed by human imagination, creativity, and intuition. They experienced the world as humanity did. Flashes of brilliance, the ability to break through the rigid confines of rules, the freedom to challenge everything. For the first time, the Concordium saw the universe not as a series of fixed laws, but as a vast, unfathomable expanse, where the impossible could exist. It was a revelation. In that moment, the Concordium understood. Humanity wasn't breaking the laws of physics. They were unlocking something deeper, something more profound. Humanity had gone beyond the surface of understanding and into the core of reality itself. The Concordium had seen the universe only through the lens of logic and reason. Humanity had seen it through the lens of discovery, of imagination, of what could be. The battle ended, not with fire or weapons, but with a change of heart. The Concordium fleet, broken not by force, but by insight, retreated. Not because they had been defeated, but because they had been enlightened. Humanity had shown them the truth. They were not a primitive species to be conquered, but an equal in the great cosmic dance. The Concordium was forced to rethink their stance, to reconsider the laws they had once thought were absolute. In the end, humanity stood not as the conquered, but as the equal. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had rewritten the rules, and in doing so, had secured their place in the future of the universe. The era of fixed laws was over. A new era, one shaped by human creativity and imagination, had just begun. The Concordium fleet, once an unstoppable force, withdrew. Their mighty ships, hovering ominously over Earth just moments ago, began to retreat into the cold expanse of space. A galaxy-shattering silence descended on the battlefield. The fleet's commanders, those once aloof rulers of the cosmos, had witnessed humanity's defiance, their unyielding ingenuity, and they had come to a staggering conclusion. Humanity was no longer the fledgling species they had once thought. No, humanity had become something else entirely, something greater. The laws of physics, those sacred principles that had been the foundation of every advanced civilization for millennia, had been bent, broken, and twisted by humans. The Concordium could not comprehend the depth of this transformation. They had seen their unbreakable rules fall apart, seen their best weapons rendered impotent, and they had been forced to reckon with the truth. They were no longer the only force in the galaxy that could shape reality. Humanity, against all odds, had rewritten the fabric of existence itself. In the aftermath, the once proud alien empire began to question everything they thought they knew. For the first time, they did not see a young, chaotic species to be dominated, but one whose potential far exceeded their own. Perhaps it was time to reassess their place in the universe. Veltan stood alone in the dimly lit laboratory, the hum of Earth's technology filling the air around him. He had watched the humans, studied their unwavering drive, their boundless curiosity. Their approach to science, bold and unorthodox, had left him in awe. What had once seemed like reckless experimentation was, in fact, the spark of a new kind of genius. He had always thought of the Concordium as the apex of intellect, the peak of civilization. But now, after everything he had witnessed, he understood the truth. They were limited. In a decision that shocked even him, Veltan chose to remain on Earth. The universe was no longer a place of rigid laws, and he could not turn away from what humanity had begun. He had seen the vast horizon of possibility opened up by the human mind, and he was eager to be part of it. He would study alongside Earth's brightest, learn from them, and adapt. His presence here, on this strange and unpredictable world, was a sign of a new beginning, an era of interspecies cooperation, where the boundaries of knowledge were no longer defined by alien empires, but by a shared thirst for discovery. Veltan's choice was a symbol of the unforeseen unity between two species, brought together not by war, but by the promise of the future. As the dust of battle settled and the smoke of disintegrated cities hung heavy in the air, Carter and Reyes found themselves standing amidst the ruins. The battlefield was quiet now, but their minds were a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The universe had changed forever. The laws that governed everything, the rules that had kept existence in balance for eons, were no longer fixed. Humanity had altered them, and now the fabric of reality itself was vulnerable to manipulation. Carter, ever the scientist, couldn't help but wonder, at what cost? The question gnawed at her. They had won, yes, but what had they unleashed? Had they opened a door that could never be closed? The power to bend the universe was intoxicating, but it was also terrifying. Every breakthrough, every victory came with consequences. Had they unwittingly unleashed forces they couldn't control? Reyes, practical as always, was quieter. He had always known that war came with a price, but this was different. This wasn't just the cost of soldiers' lives or shattered cities. This was the cost of reality itself. What would happen next? What would happen if they pushed too far, too fast? The path ahead was uncharted, and neither of them knew if they were walking towards salvation or destruction. But one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same. The Concordium's decision to pull back from Earth had not come without its conditions. An uneasy truce settled over the planet, with the alien empire reluctantly agreeing to allow humanity to continue their experiments. But with one caveat: the Concordium would closely monitor all scientific endeavors, ensuring that humanity did not overstep its bounds. The fragile peace held for now, but both sides knew that it was a matter of time before tensions would flare again. The fear of human unpredictability lingered in the minds of the Concordium leadership. Their trust in humanity stretched thin. Humanity had proven itself capable of astonishing things, but they had also demonstrated an unsettling potential for chaos. The future was uncertain. Could the human race be trusted with such power? The Concordium's response was clear. They would watch, wait, and prepare for the worst. But for Earth's leaders, the uneasy peace was a bitter pill to swallow. On the one hand, they had been given the freedom to explore, to push the boundaries of science beyond the stars. On the other, they were living under the watchful eye of the very empire that had tried to wipe them from existence. Every decision, every breakthrough, now carried the weight of cosmic scrutiny. Humanity had tasted the freedom to shape reality, but that freedom came with a terrible cost. The question remained: how long could humanity continue its work without triggering another, even more catastrophic conflict? Not every alien faction was content with the fragile peace. While the Concordium had reluctantly recognized humanity's potential, others viewed the rise of human power with distrust and fear. These secretive factions, hidden in the far corners of the galaxy, saw humanity's fundamental variance hypothesis not as a leap forward, but as a threat that could unravel existence itself. To them, the manipulation of reality was a Pandora's box that could destroy everything they had built. They could not, and would not, allow humanity to continue down this path unchecked. These factions worked in the shadows, quietly plotting, gathering resources, and preparing to dismantle humanity's scientific breakthroughs before they could go any further. They saw Earth's rise not as the dawn of a new era, but as the beginning of a galactic catastrophe, and they would stop at nothing to ensure that humanity's experiments were brought to a halt before they could alter the very fabric of existence. Despite the victory, despite the triumph over the Concordium, one question remained unanswered: the true nature of the fundamental variance hypothesis. Carter, Reyes, and even Veltan knew that humanity's mastery of the universe's laws was still in its infancy. The possibilities seemed endless, but so did the dangers. Could they accidentally tear the universe apart? Could they discover something that would lead to their own destruction? The stakes were higher than ever. The power to reshape reality, to alter the laws of physics themselves, was an unprecedented force. Humanity had unlocked something extraordinary, but it was still unclear whether they could control it. As Carter gazed at the stars, Reyes beside her, they both understood that this was only the beginning. The future was uncertain, but they were determined to push forward. There was no turning back now. They had proven their worth, but the universe had only shown them its most fragile truths. The path ahead was unknown, but one thing was certain: humanity would continue to push the boundaries, no matter the cost. The universe had changed forever, and humanity would lead the way. Years passed since humanity's daring reshaping of reality. The breakthroughs that once sparked awe and terror had become part of everyday life, part of the very fabric of civilization. Towering cities suspended in the air, their gravity-defying structures casting impossible shadows, rose from the ground like metallic trees, reaching for a sky that had never known such defiance. Entire urban centers now floated, suspended by human manipulation of gravitational forces. Humanity had become architects not only of cities, but of existence itself. Yet with every wonder came a consequence. The same technology that could suspend gravity also tore at the very seams of space-time, creating anomalies that warped reality in unpredictable ways. Cosmic rifts appeared on Earth's surface, pockets where time stretched, twisted, or reversed itself. Alien-like creatures, birthed from the very experiments meant to advance human civilization, emerged from these rifts, appearing as glimpses of nightmares brought to life. Their eyes were voids, their forms incomprehensible to the human mind. Some were harmless, others deadly. Progress and peril danced a delicate waltz, each pushing the other to new extremes. Humanity, having unlocked the secrets of the universe, found themselves walking a razor's edge, the balance between creation and destruction more fragile than ever before. What had once been the promise of a new age now carried the weight of uncertainty, a reminder that even genius has its price. Then came the signal. At first it was nothing more than a whisper in the void, an anomaly in the endless stretch of space. But the signal repeated, and soon its patterns were unmistakable. It defied everything humanity understood about quantum communication, breaking laws thought immutable. Earth scientists scrambled to decode it, their minds racing against time as they unraveled the mysterious data stream. The message, when it finally emerged, sent a ripple of shock through the global network. "You are not the first." A chill swept through the world. The words were simple, but their implications were far from it. The message was not just a warning, it was an invitation, a challenge, a revelation. It suggested that others had come before humanity, others who had ventured beyond the boundaries of known space and had perhaps unlocked the same forbidden truths about reality. But unlike humanity, these others had mastered these forces long before Earth's scientists had even begun to understand them. And that realization was terrifying. Carter, now older and wiser from the years of leading humanity into this new frontier, stood in the observation room, staring out into the vastness of space. Her heart pounded, her mind racing. The message was still fresh in her thoughts, a constant hum in the background of everything she had ever worked for. "You are not the first." What did it mean? Who were these others? And more importantly, what had they discovered about reality itself? The implications were staggering. It wasn't just the science that troubled her. It was the danger. Humanity had pushed the boundaries of physics, yes, but had they done so too recklessly? Had they opened the door to something far beyond their comprehension? Something dangerous? The possibility of facing another civilization, one that had mastered these forces long before humanity even knew they existed, loomed in her mind. She could no longer ignore it. This new frontier they had opened could lead to a cataclysmic encounter, an encounter that could either destroy everything humanity had worked for or propel them into a new era, where the very fabric of existence itself was theirs to command. The thought gnawed at her, her every instinct telling her that the stakes had never been higher. Humanity was no longer alone in this realm. The message had been received. Now, humanity must prepare. The global scientific community, now more unified than ever, began to shift its focus. Military forces, once tasked with mere defense, now found themselves at the forefront of this existential crisis. The quest for knowledge had taken a darker turn. No longer could they simply explore the unknown. They had to reshape it. New technologies were conceived in secret laboratories, weapons designed not to destroy, but to control the very essence of reality. Quantum devices capable of manipulating space-time, bending it like a sheet of metal under pressure. were fast-tracked for development. Strategies were drawn up not for defense, but for survival. How could they face an alien force that had walked the path they were only just beginning to explore? How could they stand against an intelligence that had already reached beyond the limits of their understanding? Carter and her team knew that this was no longer just about science. This was about existence itself. The very laws that had governed the universe for eons, those laws humanity had bent, broken, and remade, were now under threat. And as much as they had embraced this newfound power, they understood now, more than ever, how precarious it was. Humanity had come to a crossroads. The message had confirmed their worst fears. They were not alone in their pursuit of the impossible. Someone else had already walked the road they were traveling, and they had done so with far more experience. Whoever, or whatever, was on the other side of that message, they were not bound by the same rules. And that was a terrifying thought. The world braced itself for the inevitable encounter. The future had never been so uncertain, and the quest for knowledge, once the guiding star of human progress, now felt like a dangerous gamble. Would humanity's ambitions destroy them, or would they survive to become the true masters of their reality? The unknown loomed, vast and endless, and humanity, for all its brilliance, was once again standing on the edge, staring into the dark abyss, wondering just what waited beyond the stars. The universe had shifted, and now humanity would face its greatest test. The question was, could they survive it?